Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video. Today I'm doing a review of the 4th Doctor Adventures Series 7 Volume 2. So the second half of the 7th series of the 4th Doctor Adventures. First of all, I'll be going over the cardboard sort of sleeve and or box you get with the physical release. You've got a picture of Tom Baker there. The sort of squid monster that is in what was it, Bad Penny, Sutekh, of course, and then Louise Jameson and or Leela. Then you've got the TARDIS there as well. Then you've got Big Finish, Wheel of Stories, Doctor Who, 4th Doctor Adventures, Series 7, Volume 2. Similar sort of information on the spine. And then on the back you have some pictures of the covers without the banner, as well as the titles of the episodes and the writers. And then that's about it for the cardboard sort of sleeve, so put that away. And then one thing I will say about the covers before I forget to mention it is that I really actually like all 4 of these covers. I like them all because there's sort of a cohesive cohesive sort of colour scheme with all these covers that I really like, actually. Like, a lot of them have this sort of orangey, reddish sort of colour going for them. And that, as well as these two having parallels and or similarity of having like the monster in the sort of bottom corners and that. And then, yeah, and then you've got like Sutekh and the eyes, the glowing eyes that stand out a lot. And then, yeah, you've got sort of, again, that sort of orangey gold metallic, or like sort of, orangey gold sort of colour scheme throughout all 4 of the covers that I really like. They're all really well designed covers, so props to whoever designs the Big Finish CD covers. I like all 4 of these ones. And they all cohesively like fit like as part of like one big box set release, in my opinion. So yeah, that's always good. Starting off the box set, you have Shadow of London by Justin Richards. The first part is really sort of world building, rather slow paced, rather sort of really sort of slow paced world building. Kind of reminded me of Blood of the Daleks Part 1. And that it wasn't until sort of Part 2 that I really started to like the story a lot more. And it opened up and you found out what the monster was about and that. But again, if you like your more sort of slow paced atmospheric Doctor Who stories, then this might be the story for you. The monster is quite horrific and quite, like sort of dark and stingy and that. It's a really good sort of starting point though. I think it's stronger than, as I've said before, a lot of the sort of ones of the sort of 8th Doctor Time War box sets. It starts off well, you know, you're going to a familiar place, London and that, and it's quite atmospheric and eerie and that, and there are quite a few questions to be asked and that, and then you find out the answers as the story obviously progresses, and they're interesting enough answers even, and sort of interesting enough sort of story from what I remember. Tom is just sort of Tom, really. Louise Jameson's good in that. Can't really remember much about the side characters, so overall though I gave Shadow of London an 8 out of 10. Moving on to the second story, Bad Penny by Dan Starkey of all people. The guy who plays Strax, wrote a story for the Big Finish Audios. How about that? Rather sort of paradoxical, timey-wimey, quite sort of quite experimental and that somewhat. It felt pacing wise, in contrast to Shadow of London, Bad Penny felt a lot more fast paced, sort of almost to a new series sort of vibe and that, or pacing wise, and that I like Tom doing more of the sort of, for lack of a better term, Moffat-esque or Stephen Moffat-esque sort of stories, or being plopped in a story like that, you know, where he's having to sort of figure out time and stuff like that. And I like the sort of integration of the penny and that, and the title being the bad penny and that, and that, and what one of the characters says about it, and the just sort of taking the sort of, again, it does feel like a Moffat script in so much as, or just sort of classic Who-ish sort of script, like a Spearhead from Space or Terror of the Autons, in so much as you're taking something everyday like a penny and just flipping it on its head, no pun intended, I guess, with the heads and tails. Then you've got this horrific squid-like creature. It kind of feels like, what is it, Weeping Angels Take Manhattan, or the Angels Take Manhattan episode where it's set in a hotel, or some of that is set in a hotel. This is set in a hotel, so imagine that story, but darker gothic horror-y version of that with Tom Baker's Fourth Doctor and Louise Jameson as Leela. That's what you're getting. Maybe it's an episode that I need to re-listen to, because overall I only gave it a 7 out of 10. So sort of a lower score than that of, obviously, Shadow London. Moving on to the third episode in this box set, Kill the Doctor by Guy Adams. Really enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed this one. It felt very sort of... The pacing was just right, whereas, as I say, the first one, Shadow London, was a bit too slow. Second half was a bit better, but then that one was a bit too fast, both part 1 and 2, because again, all 4 of these stories are 2-part stories, half an hour for each part, which I totally forgot going into this box set, because I just listened to the 8th Doctor Time War box set prior to listening to this one, so I thought they were just going to be 1-hour stories, but then they had the cliffhanger. None of the cliffhangers are that exceptional in any of the stories from what I remember of any of the cliffhangers, but yeah, Kill the Doctor, really sort of fun, sort of pacing wise, it was just right for me. I think it worked better than the next story because it had Sutekh was in it, but just sort of barely, like, just he was being, it was almost like we were being drip fed Sutekh, and I think the story almost benefits from that more than the next story. And also the world is sort of this, in my head anyway, it was like this Blade Runner-esque city and world, and then it was a sort of commentary on how we use phones and tablets and that, and I thought that was interesting. There were 2 standout parts to this sort of story where the Doctor and Leela butted heads, which I think's one of the first times that I can actually think of that's ever happened, either in audio or in the TV show. So that was fascinating to listen to, because the Doctor was just basically like saying, well, I can't always help everyone. I can't always undo the wrong things or the things that I see as wrong and that I don't like, because at that point I'd just be a dictator, which is very interesting and kind of true, I guess. Leela doesn't particularly care for him saying that, I guess, or is annoyed. And then there was another bit that just sort of hit home for me on a personal level about where Leela was talking to one of the side characters, and she was like saying, oh, well, if you're always worried about the next day or tomorrow, which hasn't even happened yet, then no wonder you'll be eternally sad. And that kind of got to me on a personal level, I guess. But yeah, again, Sutekh, Gabriel Wolf is just 10 out of 10, like, phenomenal. And that I like the inclusion of this like hover bike, and that, and the mobs, and that. I gave Kill the Doctor a 9 out of 10. It was really enjoyable, really sort of flew by. Again, the pacing was just right for me. The Age of Sutekh, which is also written by Guy Adams, for me, sort of dipped down in quality, in contrast to Kill the Doctor. You have Sutekh there quite a bit more, but I just don't feel like it was that clear what he wanted to do. And by the time that, like, I don't know, I was getting a bit more invested, or a bit more like, okay, Sutekh should have done something, or had a bit more oomph to him, or something bad should have happened, like a plot twist, or, he should have killed or maimed, or, tried to, kill someone, like, important or something, someone close to the Doctor, like maybe that police officer character. I liked that police officer character. If he'd have been killed off, then maybe I'd be like, whoa, oh my god, like, Sutekh is a big threat. But instead, the way he gets defeated is really sort of naff and just anticlimactic for sure. The mummies are just sort of there. They're all right, I guess. The world gets kind of changed. Spoiler alert, from what it was in Kill the Doctor, I guess, to what it is in Age of Sutekh, and that was an alright enough idea, but it kind of fell flat for me again because I couldn't visualize the new world as much. You know, they didn't really describe the new world as much as they had already established the previous sort of world. And that, I guess it was decent enough that they did this sort of psychic stuff, and that in Age of Sutekh and Kill the Doctor, they are very much linked. They're almost, like 2 separate episodes split up into 2 parts, so like 1 4-parter, I guess. So you could have had it as like 1 4-parter, but instead you've had it, obviously, as 2 separate stories. But I don't know. Age of Sutekh, I give an 8 out of 10. It just sort of fell flat for me. I didn't like it, as I say, as much as Kill the Doctor, and that I'm not sure why. I don't like being too negative about Doctor Who, but yeah, or without having some sort of points to make, but it just sort of, I don't know, the pacing was just meh. Like, again, Gabriel and Wolf was still good. It was just like, we'd, had Sutekh like maybe 2-3 times at most in the second part of that story, and then to go from 2 to 3 appearances of him in the second part of Kill the Doctor, then him being in like 50% of this story, and then sort of diminishing, and then just being defeated, and then just meh. He just sort of kind of just disappears. Like, there's no oomph, there's no impact for me. So that was kind of annoying. But yeah, I mean, I guess I've always got Kill the Doctor anyway. And maybe on a second re-listen, I might actually really like Age of Sutekh, and not like Kill the Doctor as much. I don't know. But overall, I gave Doctor Who the Fourth Doctor Adventures Series 7, or the 7th series of the Fourth Doctor Adventures, the second half, Volume 2. I gave it a 32 out of 40 overall, so yeah, it's definitely up there. I think if you're a big fan of the Philip Hinchcliffe sort of gothic horror sort of era of Tom's and the 70s, and or that sort of Pyramids of Mars, obviously Sutekh and that, and sort of dark gothic horror-y stories, then you will definitely like this box set, or should definitely like this box set. So yeah, that's all from me. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to comment, rate and subscribe.